Okay, I'd like to start the Metro North meeting for the month of January, and I'd like to go to Howard.
I'd like to start with a tribute to Ken McGrath. Many of you know that Ken McGrath was our signal maintainer, was a 28-year veteran of Metro North. And on January 9th, on Friday evening, while performing his duties on the right-of-way, he was struck and killed by a train. He was 50 years old. In addition to offering our sympathy to the family and friends of its dedicated employee, we want to offer our support to his coworkers, to those who were involved in the incident, to those investigating why it happened. A situation like this is very difficult for me personally, as well as for everybody on the railroad. And the fact that it's one of our own employees, one of our own people, makes it especially sad for us. So I'd like to ask everyone to please join me in a moment of silence for Mr. McGrath. Okay, thank you. On a slightly happier note, we want to take a minute to also honor train engineer Joseph Conti. Mr. Conti, and to honor we want to recognize him and honor the heroism he demonstrated when he risked his life and everything to save a person from danger on New Year's Eve. At approximately 4:12 p.m., as he's the engineer of train number 668, and he was just south of Fleetwood Station, and Mr. Conti noticed a woman who was acting erratically and walking on the tracks close to the third rail. He immediately called the rail traffic controller to have them cut the third rail power and called for police assistance. He jumped off the train and onto the tracks. He coaxed the woman away from the third rail and held onto her until help arrived. Joe, your quick thinking and brave actions bring honor to Metro North, our entire family, and all our employees, and we thank you. I'd like to ask you to come up to receive a plaque as well.
We got to stand here and make them. Photographer's going to make us all look beautiful. All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, I need an approval of minutes.
So approved.
Second? All in favor? Any contrary? Approved. Okay, approval of the work plan. I think we do need an approval. This is a new work plan.
Yeah.
So can I get a motion to approve the work plan? Second? All in favor? Any contrary? Carried. Status of operations.
Good morning, all. Welcome to the first meeting of the new year. Status of operation can be found on page 14 of your book. And as always, I will summarize 2008 and ask any specific questions you have about December. In 2008, we operated at 97.5%, a tenth of a point below our target of 97.6. During the year, we operated 5 months at or above our goal of 97.6, and 4 of those months were actually above 98%. In 2008, the AM peak ran at 97.1, above its target. The PM peak ran at 97.2, below its target of 97.8. The off-peak weekday service ran at 97.6, below its target, and the off-peak weekend service ran at 98%, which was our goal of 98%. The AM reverse peak operated at 97.4, below its target of 97.7. In 2008, our daily on-time performance dropped below 95% 33 times, and of that number, 11 of those were a day below 90%. In 2008, we operated 209,000 trains, 4,700 more than last year, 2007, and 203,000 of the 209,000 trains were on time. 5,000 were either late, terminated, or annulled. 99.8% of our trips were completed, and 98% of our trains operated with a full consist. If you turn to page 20A, you'll see the on-time performance graph for 2008. We started off with a pretty terrific winter last year. I might mention already in January last year we had one snow day, one weather day. So far in January of 2009 we've had 9 snow days and another one coming tomorrow. So it's been quite the winter we're having. And I also call your attention to page 20C. You'll see the 4 critical events that really helped us not make our target for the year. The number one and completely unexpected was the building collapse at Park Avenue. We count on running better than 98, almost 99% during January, February, March, April, and May, particularly if there's no heavy-duty snowstorms. That was followed by a signal cable fire at Mott Haven and some other small issues at the end of the year. Again, the weather and snow has been with us since almost the middle of December. So that's the story of 2008 on-time performance.
Any questions?
West of Hudson can be found on page 19. It operated at 96% above its target of 95%. 208 West of Hudson trains operated late of the 19,945 trains scheduled. The Port Jervis was above target at 94.7. The Pascack Valley was also above target at 96.9. 99.5% of the trips were completed, and 315 trains ran 15 minutes late. 99 of the 315 were over 30 minutes late. Mean distance between failure can be found on page 20E of the handout. The final number for November, remember last time we talked about that we would now start reporting MDBF a month late as we have time to reconcile the numbers. So actual MDBF for November is 119,000 against a target of 100,000. Our preliminary estimate for 2008 NDBF is 100,228 miles against a target of 100,000. So we're 228 miles to the good on-time performance. And I'll answer any questions.
Any questions for George? Okay, thanks, George. Kim?
Good morning. At the previous December committee meeting, I had discussed with you preliminary results for the month of November and year-to-date November. And today, included in your book on page 25, are those final results. If you have any questions on those, I'd be happy to answer those.
I'm just looking at the reimbursable, what is it, we're looking at year-to-date. And it seems as if the actual was way off from the mid-year forecast in total revenue and total labor cost. The problem might have corrected itself in December.
On reimbursable labor, of what amount?
I got unreimbursable labor, which we estimated to be 105. That's 115.
Okay. What you're seeing is on the reimbursables, higher project activity, and so higher charges on labor and higher reimbursables.
Okay.
So that has to do with, at the end of we had experience through most of the year, and it continued through the end of December, is higher capital program activity.
Okay. Now, up above that, the total revenue for that same, the actual was 182 compared to 196.
Right, and mostly what we have is that there were some lags in the CDOT capital reimbursables that drove down and resulted in that negative variance. Those negative variances has to do with just basically the lag in the New Haven line locomotive acquisitions and the Bombardier coaches. So not receiving those reimbursables also meant we did not incur those costs.
Okay. Any other questions for Kim?
Okay. What I wanted to mention and announce to all you today is that the financial reports for December are underway in terms of the year and close process, and therefore the close results are very preliminary at this stage. So we will not be discussing them in any detail this morning. We also will be carrying forth this lag and build in a 2-month reporting lag, which allows for a consistency with what is in your committee booklet to what we will be discussing at the meeting as well. So As you see, in the past, we've provided a 1-month lag. What this will do is ensure that the financial results that we discussed today at the meeting will be the same that will be discussed by MTA Finance later on in the day. And this will also provide for the staff the adequate time to do the research and review and ensure that we provide you and discuss with you financial results that are final. And so with that, I look forward to sharing the December preliminary results with you next month.
Any questions? Okay. Bob?
Good morning. The ridership report for November is in your book, starting on page 41. East of Hudson ridership in November 2008 grew 1% compared to the previous year. Commutation grew by 1.1%. Non-commutation ridership grew by 0.8%. These trends reflect a continuation of the slowing of ridership growth that we first started to report on for September results. Year-to-date through August, 2008 ridership had been up 5% compared to 2007. In September, the trend slowed to a little over 3%. In October, it was between 2 and 3, and now November is about 1% above the previous year. So we're still seeing a continuation of that slowing trend, positive growth, but at a much slower rate than we had seen earlier in the year. Behind those numbers, to from Manhattan, there was essentially no growth compared to the previous year. In November, it was only up 0.2%. We were still seeing some significant growth, though, in intermediate ridership, 4.8% compared to a year ago. West of Hudson, the month of November, ridership was up 3.6% compared to the previous year. And similar to East of Hudson, that reflects a slowing of the trend. Year-to-date, we had seen over 10% growth from 2007. So the 3.6 we saw in November, again, shows a slowing of growth. Port Jervis, very slight growth in November, 0.5%. Pascack Valley, largely driven, as it has been for the past year, by the service expansion. Ridership was up 12.9%. And again, it's a slowing of the growth we had been seeing, over 26% year-to-date, up through November. Our 3 managed connecting services, Hudson Rail Link, ridership in November was down slightly compared to a year ago, down 7%. Year-to-date, ridership on the Hudson Rail Link is up 5%. The slight drop we saw in Hudson Rail Link ridership is also reflected in the West Bronx and the East Bronx. For the last 3 years, we have been talking about some significant growth that had been happening back, the trend started right after the transit strike in December '05. In November, we now have seen slight ridership decreases in the Bronx, both West Bronx and East Bronx. So both rail ridership and Hudson Rail ridership dipped slightly. Both of our managed ferries, Haverstraw-Ossining and Newburgh Beacon, saw continuing growth in November, plus 7% on Haverstraw-Ossining and up 14% on Newburgh Beacon. If there are any questions,
Yeah, I'd like to mention that you may have seen that because of the weather and the icing on the river, we've now had to suspend service and replace it with bus service for about the last 2 weeks now, I believe.
It's about 10 days, Danny-ish? Yeah.
And it looks, with the cold weather continuing, it'll be a little bit of time until the ice breaks up in both locations. Last winter, if I recall correctly, Newburgh Beacon never stopped running. Well, we had a very short period for Haverstraw-Ossining. So, again, the cold weather is affecting that service. The bus service is going well, but clearly we'd prefer, if we could, doing the ferry than the bus.
What were those 7%? You said 7% of Haverstraw-Ossining.
In November. Well, I'm going for my talking points, yes. I'm sorry, what? Okay, page 50. I can't hear you, Jim. Oh, okay, so.
This shows 6.
Which are the...
Ah.
wh- Jim, do you want us to send you, we'll send you
Yeah.
separately, we'll send you what the correct numbers are.
They're in the book.
Well, I can't tell from that interchange. We'll make sure you get the correct numbers. Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Ron?
Thank you. Good morning. The capital program highlights are on page 51, and I have some updates. The station work, the Hudson Line Station improvements, Phase 2B, Phillips Manor, Scarborough, and Ossining are moving along. We recently put the inbound south half of the Phillips Manor Station in service. At Yankee Stadium, the most important element, which is the steel truss bridge, the actual overpass itself, the assembly of that is complete, along with the assembly of the steelwork for the east tower and the elevator towers on the east side. So that makes that connection from the stadium to the west side parking lots complete as a structure now. We're beginning the form work to place concrete in there to make it, to bring that part in service in April to restore the access to the west side. The roof on the mezzanine is about 90% complete, and we're working on the block work, the windows, and actually the elevator construction is commenced already. The overall project is in the high 70% percentage completion. On Harmon, Phase 3, the locomotive shop, we're beginning to install the drop table, and the painting's been ongoing there. And in the coach shop, we began the painting, so we're doing interior work now. And that project is about 81% complete. The value engineering is underway to look at the percentage that we have done to see if there's any potential on Phase 4 for cost savings. And I have the results of the capital program performance for 2008. We made 80% of our commitments, $137 million. Our completions, we made 106%. We actually exceeded our plan by $4 million. The closeouts, 109%. By $20 million, we exceeded our plan for closing out contracts. And our contract cost growth for the year, that's a measure of change orders on completed contracts, was 3% last year. And on a personnel note, our Metro-North's chief architect, Wayne Amon, retired earlier this month after 25 years of service. Any questions?
You may recall Wayne was a major player in the whole renovation of Grand Central Terminal. Did an excellent job for us. We should add just on the 80%, Ron, that was largely caused by the New Haven Line Station project, which the bids came in much higher than estimate, and then we redefined the project. It will be going out this spring, I believe.
Yes, this spring. There were two projects, as Howard mentioned, the New Haven Line stations, and we also had a west of Hudson locomotive overhaul package that wasn't finished by the end of last year. It is finished now, and it's in contracts, and that's the second commitment that we didn't make. That's why we had 80%.
Any questions for Ron? Safety report.
Good morning. The results in your book this month are through November, but actually, given that this meeting is fairly late in the month, our December year-end results are fairly stable now, and we want to take this opportunity to highlight some of our accomplishments in 2008. So I'd be glad to answer any questions about the charts in the book, but actually the handout that was prepared for this meeting touches on some of the overall results for 2008. In 2008, we had our largest year-over-year safety improvements in the history of Metro-North. Our total injuries were down 24%, and our other key indicators, FRA reportable cases and lost time cases, were down 32 and 30% respectively. We think what's particularly noteworthy about those reductions last year was that they are the fifth of 5 consecutive years of year-over-year improvements. Since we plateaued, we had a single-year plateau back in 2003. If you take a slightly longer perspective and look back to 2000, the results are even more significant. Our total and FRA reportable incidents have been reduced by 2/3 during that period, and our lost time injuries are down by 78% since 2000. Particularly notable in these reductions since 2000, the work days lost due to injury are down by 80%. And this represents an increase in employability of over 7,000 days, or roughly the equivalent of over 30 full-time employees. But I think what we feel is more significant about that measure is its indication of the disruption, the trauma, the pain that employees and their families have been spared by our accomplishments in the safety arena. The graphs on the last 3 pages of the handout show the even longer perspective, the 25-year history of Metro-North. And although you can see that we've had some plateaus and some 1- and 2-year setbacks, overall the long-term trend has been significantly and steadily downward. And lastly, I think one of the things we want to do is assure you that we're in no way satisfied with this as a status quo, particularly in light of the tragedy that Howard spoke about at the beginning of the meeting, and that we're continuing to pursue as aggressively as possible our goal of 0 injuries. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions? Great report. Thank you. Okay, police report.
Good morning. Page 61 shows the uniform crime reports for the northern region. Just want to touch base on each of the categories, a very brief description of where we're at. In total, we're slightly down from the year before, and that is because of the amount of larcenies reported went down from 2007 versus 2008. There was one reported sex offense. The case itself is not a mystery to us. It's in the hands of the district attorney's office to see if we're still going to capture it as a crime or not. The robberies, we did increase the number at this publication is not correct. It's actually 18 instead of 19. Of those 18 cases, there are 11 that are closed by arrests. The majority of those are happening in and around the station area, not on trains. Felony assaults are 13 for the year. Of those 13, 7 were involving MTA police officers. Because of the nature of that, it captures as a felony report. The burglaries increased from 7 in 2007 to 16 in 2008. The majority of those occurred in Grand Central, in the businesses, as well as the storage areas throughout the lower level. Motor vehicle thefts remain the same as last year. As far as the motor vehicle thefts are concerned, there's no particular vehicle that's targeted, no specific station that's targeted. Through the 12-month period, 5 of the 6 locations are all different. And with these numbers, just so you're aware, I exchange this information with the chiefs and local police departments so that they're aware of what's going on in the MTA system, as well as us staying in tune with what's going on in their jurisdictions as well. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, I can answer them.
Any questions? Very good, thank you. Okay, Howard, now
Okay.
we're on information items.
Yeah, we have 2, and the first one is Bob is going to give a summary of our 2008 customer satisfaction survey. These results, we're very pleased with these results. They represent hard work by all the Metro-North employees, all our partners, the unions, the state of Connecticut, New Jersey Transit, you'll see some west of Hudson. And so we're very pleased with them. Bob will now take you through all these results.
While we're waiting, we had some very positive results from our 2008 customer satisfaction survey. We're going to talk about them in general terms this morning. The more detailed report is in your book. The survey was fielded in mid-September. East End. Oh, sorry. The survey was fielded in mid-September. Thank you. This survey, as in past years, is a cooperative effort of Metro North, Connecticut DOT, the PCAC here in New York, and the Connecticut Rail Commuter Council in Connecticut. So all four parties field the New Haven Line survey. PCAC and Metro North field the surveys on the Harlem-Hudson, Pascack Valley, and Port Jervis lines. We achieved several milestones in the results we got east of Hudson on this page. This year we reached a new record, 94% satisfaction among our customers east of Hudson, peak and off-peak. And included in that is that for the first time, a full 50% of our customers east of Hudson told us they were very satisfied, meaning they gave us an 8, 9, or a 10 on the 1 to 10 scale with regard to the Metro North service. The increase in very satisfied customers, that's up 4 points in just over one year. In 2008, for the first time, all three lines achieved 90% satisfaction or better. The New Haven line, which was at 90% this past year, has increased a full 8 points over the last three surveys. Also, in this, we've seen greater consistency in terms of satisfaction among our customers on all three lines and all time periods. In the next slide, we'll get into some of the major service categories. We had improvements in most of the major service categories that we ask our customers their opinions. We also saw a new record for reverse peak satisfaction. 96% of our reverse peak customers told us they were satisfied with the service. It's worth pointing out that all of this, as Howard mentioned, happened in September when we were seeing record levels of ridership this year on Metro North, and that's an achievement. And finally, west of Hudson, our satisfaction with west of Hudson customers rose to 89%. This chart summarizes what we saw in terms of some of the key service categories that we look at. 5 of the 7 major categories, our customers reflected a higher satisfaction level than we had seen a year ago. Satisfaction is very highly correlated with our on-time performance. As Mr. Walker pointed out, we've seen very good on-time performance numbers through September. We were running at 97.8%, ahead of our goal of 97.6%. In terms of the categories, overall condition on trains reached a record with recorded the largest increase, up 3 points from a year ago. This is on top of a 2-point increase we'd seen the year before. This increase has been driven by New Haven Line customers, where satisfaction with the train cars has gone up 10 points in the last 2 surveys. Even with this, the New Haven Line still trails behind the H&H in terms of very satisfied and overall satisfied. This is a reflection, of course, of the fact that we've got the M7 fleet in full service on the H&H, and we're still a year away from starting to see the M8s arrive from the New Haven Line. On the New Haven, despite the fact that the M8s are not here, the increase in satisfaction with onboard train conditions is a reflection of management initiatives we've been putting in to try to maintain and improve satisfaction in the meantime, in the short term. You've heard a lot about the Critical Systems Replacement Program. Since 2006, more than 100 cars have been returned to service with rehabilitated interiors, and that includes 8 bar car pairs that are now in service. We've also opened, Connecticut DOT finished, and Metro North has occupied the new S&I facility in New Haven. And we've also applied targeted overtime on the New Haven side to improve our ability to turn cars out and improve consist availability, car availability, and improve consist compliance on the New Haven line. In addition, the e-cleaning cycle for cars has now been made 60 days on all lines. 98% of our customers are satisfied with the courtesy and responsiveness of our employees. As Mr. Perman mentioned, we have strong working relationships with ACRE and our other unions. Our frontline employees that customers deal with every day, traditionally very highly rated by our customers. It's a testament to the hard work and professionalism of our union employees across the railroad that our customers are always very satisfied. Grand Central was the only area where we saw a drop this year, but it's from 99 to 98%. And a couple of points in this discussion, we'll talk about the fact that it's very hard to maintain It's very hard to achieve, and it's very hard to maintain 100 or close to 100. It doesn't take many customers to be having a bad day for whatever reason and say they're not satisfied to cause 100% to become 99 or 98. Better versus worse versus the same in the past year. How is their service done? Over 89% of our customers felt that Metro North was better or the same than a year ago. In 7 of the 8 key categories, more customers said we had improved than got worse. Very good results. Grand Central, an amazing 15-to-1 ratio of people who felt Grand Central had gotten better versus gotten worse in the last year. 31% of customers felt Grand Central has gotten better. We think this is a significant factor here is the completion of the new restrooms on the lower level that went into service between the 07 and 08 survey. Had a very positive impact on customers, particularly those who use the dining concourse. Other categories where we saw good ratios: communication during normal service, nearly 6-to-1. Internal communications, we spent some time focused on improving and strengthening our internal communications to provide more timely information to reach our customers at boarding stations and onboard trains. The courtesy and responsiveness of our employees, 5-to-1 ratio in terms of people felt we'd gotten better versus worse. Cleanliness on our trains, the only category where more customers thought we got worse than better. We feel that this is, well, it's all driven by the New Haven line, where 7% of customers thought we'd gotten better, 21% felt we'd gotten worse. And while we had a positive ratio on the H&H, the New Haven side we think is definitely related to the continued aging of the approaching 40-year-old New Haven line EMU fleet, the M2s. And as I've mentioned, as well know, in 2010 we'll start putting the M8s in service. And we saw a remarkable increase in people's satisfaction in these areas on the Harlem and Hudson when the M7s went into service, and we expect the same thing to happen on the New Haven starting next year. By line and by time period, I won't go through all these results, but satisfaction was the mid to upper 90s on every segment in both years, with the exception of New Haven line peak. The New Haven line peak is catching up. It was up 4 points this past year, more than any other segment. And in the last 3 surveys, New Haven line peak satisfaction has increased 11 points. The main outstanding issues on the New Haven peak: availability of seating is an issue. Trains are much more crowded than the H&H, where the M7s have allowed us to move below the 95% loading standard. And we have just a general dissatisfaction with the older equipment that customers see. Both issues are being addressed through the critical CSR program project we talked about, better consensus compliance. We still have the challenge of dealing with a 100-year-old catenary system in the state of Connecticut, which adversely affects on-time performance. We're trying to do a good job of managing within that constraint, improving our OTP, but we have capital construction with the various pieces of the catenary project that have been underway for a number of years and will continue for a number of years. We have to work around, which also affects on-time performance. Harlem line satisfaction was at least 98% in all time periods. There was a slight decline among weekend customers, but that was from 100% to slightly below 100%. Satisfaction there is still strong. Hudson line ratings, we reached 100% off-peak, which is a very good result, of course. Reverse peak, as I mentioned earlier, we had hit a new high this year, 96% satisfaction. It was up 3 points. 47% of our reverse peak customers are very satisfied, meaning they give an 8 to 10. That's 7 points over the previous survey, and only slightly below the 50% very satisfied that I mentioned earlier we saw for all inbound customers. Big improvements. We saw 6-point increases both in overall conditions on trains and the courtesy and responsiveness of our employees among reverse peak customers reached 99% satisfied. We're very happy with the result. 16% of our reverse peak customers thought Metro North had gotten better, only 5% worse, a 3-to-1 ratio, again, positive results. West of Hudson highlights. Was the second year in a row that we surveyed all time periods on both lines. 89% of our customers west of Hudson were satisfied, up 3 points from last year. The Port Jervis increased 5 points, while the Pascagoula Valley declined 2 points. The Pascagoula Valley result is not really surprising. It was not unexpected. We had a very big jump in Pascack Valley Line satisfaction in 2007. The survey was done just after we had introduced off-peak and weekend service for the first time since 1940. So it's not surprising we saw a little bit of a backslide from a year later, and we're not in the weeks immediately following the major service expansion. The Port Jervis line, the 5-point increase is a reflection of some things we had done, and I'll go back to when we talked about the 2007 results. We had seen a significant drop in Port Jervis satisfaction in the 2000 survey, partly with a suggestion of our committee, of you folks. We had done some focus groups with people who were dissatisfied with the Port Jervis service and try to get behind the numbers to find out what the issues were that were making them less than happy with the service they were getting. Coming out of that, we had a series of meetings with New Jersey Transit. Those meetings continue, actually, and we introduced a number of management initiatives west of Hudson on the Port Jervis line. And New Jersey Transit has been very cooperative. We improved car cleanliness by reducing the cleaning cycle from 120 days, the major cleaning cycle, they call major cleaning, we call e-cleaning, from 120 days to 80 days. That helped. We also worked with them to beef up 21-day maintenance and cleaning as well, and also their procedures for servicing toilets was modified to improve cleanliness on the trains. We added cars to a number of Port Jervis line trains, AM, PM, and off-peak in June, immediately after the completion of the focus groups in the spring and review those results. We also worked with New Jersey Transit. One of the areas our customers kept talking about was dissatisfaction with communications, that they didn't know what was going on during disruptions. We worked with New Jersey Transit, and they improved their procedures for providing up-to-date information to train crews and better instruction on distributing that information via PA and by walking through the train, talking to customers. And we feel that's also been reflected in people's greater satisfaction on the Port Jervis line. For its part, Metro North, following the 2007 survey and continuing to this day and will continue in the future, we increased our level of what we call service quality audits, where we send our people from the customer service department into the yards prior to dispatchment to look at trains, and we rate them on a variety of issues in terms of train interiors and the bathrooms, and also riding trains in service to see what the customers are seeing in terms of the quality of the train conditions. I'll turn it off to Mr. Permit. Excuse me? I'm sorry.
How many people are involved in that effort?
The service quality?
Yeah.
Is there anybody from customer
Tom?
service here who can ask that?
Tom's here.
Tom.
Just to summarize what Bob just presented, I mean, we're very, very pleased with these results. These are terrific results. They're the best results we have seen since we've been doing the survey. And I think that we have to go, there are a couple of things I want to highlight in that. One is, again, the hard work of the 6,000 people at Metro North, because these results that we see here, the day in and day out delivery of service, and the attention to detail, that's what makes these results possible, and that's what provides the excellent service that we do provide. Also, that as we have done over the years and will continue to do, we use this survey as a very important management tool, so that when we see things that are not where we'd like them to be, that we then focus on them. Bob spoke west of Hudson, the effort. We've similarly on the Consus compliance on the New Haven line. A host of different actions we will take coming out of the survey, and we'll continue to do that. I do want to say that when we look forward to 2009, that there will be challenges to keep this up. I mean, clearly, as we face with a financial circumstance and potential service cuts and fare hikes, that will have an effect if how that plays out and how that comes in. We can't maintain this level of satisfaction with those types of actions on the table. From our end, we will continue to keep the focus on the details of providing the service with the resources we have. That's my pledge to you as we go forward. But if there are any other questions then on this?
I just want to say that I appreciate the extra effort that went into the Port Jervis line after the prior survey. I ride that line all the time. I see the effort that you put out. I hear better and better things from the other people on the trains, and I think it's hard to get any higher than you are unless we expand the service. I think that's the one thing that I still hear a lot about. So, but I really appreciate what you did. It shows. Thanks.
Thank you, Susan.
And also, since we on the PCAC and the Metro North Commuter Council have a hand in this report, I can also report back that the council is very pleased and appreciative of the efforts of the railroad as a whole in keeping these service levels where they are, and it is good to see it reflected in the numbers.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, next we have the joint procurement.
Yes, we have in the book an action that's a Long Island Railroad action, but this is a very important action. I want us to take 1 minute and explain it, and I'll actually be making with Helena Williams a short presentation at Finance about it this morning. But this is the continuation of the efforts of the two railroads to work together wherever we can. We've had a number of initiatives over the past year, and one of the key areas which we are focusing on and will continue to focus very heavily on is joint procurements, where the opportunity is to save money, to do business more effectively, more wisely. This particular action is, with the exception of one-car procurement, the largest joint action between the railroads. It is to enter into 7 OEM, or original equipment manufacturer, agreements up to $257 million over a 5-year period. It allows us, if we can find alternates, which we are committed to looking to do, we can use them. So it's a not-to-exceed amount. We're not locked in with these manufacturers, but at the same time, it makes sure we can get the parts we need, and we'll get them at the most efficient and the lowest price possible for the two railroads by combining our efforts together. So this will be an action item at Long Island and at Finance. But it's actually past Long Island. It'll be at Finance.
I'd just like to say that when we get into our procurements, we will see a lot of joint procurement initiatives, which is really the direction that we had hoped when this whole idea of shared service, business service center started. So this is good news. Any other questions?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
No, I'm saying when we're buying when we're consolidating our activities with the Long Island Railroad, I wondered whether or not it increased or decreased the number of people seeking to do business with us.
In different cases are different because we've done so many now. Each one is different. In this case, we are basically using OEMs, so that will not increase as part of this action alternative bidders. However, when we start to look for alternative sourcing, which we will do for some of these parts if we're successful, that will draw in more bidders because we'll have a much bigger pool.
Thank you.
Howard, just not to get too deep into the weeds here, but can you summarize in a short way how this joint effort goes forward as between the two railroads? Is there a committee set up? Is it the department heads? How does it work?
What we do is we have regular meetings of the senior staff, myself, and Helena on a series of topics. Typically, it's about every month. And the major topic that we've been discussing over the past few months has been joint procurement. and Anthony Bombay. Is Anthony here? Anthony is, and his counterpart, Dennis Mann, the Long Island Railroad, have been tasked with working to find more opportunities for joint procurements. And so they have a whole effort underway to look at where can we do things together more effectively. And that's basically the process. Anthony, do you want to add anything?
One of the things I'd like to add is the fact that we do have more formalized listing by quarter of procurements that we're going to initiate. That will initiate for the remainder of '09 into '10. So we're like on a scheduled basis, and we have an approved list that's been reviewed by my senior staff, myself, and my counterparts at the Long Island. So we're sticking to that list, plus we're also adding some new ones that have come along.
That's key.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Okay.
Okay, then we
Yeah,
move
one
towards
action.
one action item, and this is a very important action item. I'm going to ask Randy to give you a very short summary on this. This is a new parking operator, the award of a contract to Laz Parking for a 7-year base with 2 3-year options, so it's potentially a 13-year relationship with them. We're very excited about it. There are a lot of significant benefits to Metro North from this new agreement. And Randy, would you summarize them briefly?
Sure. Yeah, quick background on this. Over the last 20 years, we've been advancing the parking program. 12 years ago, we developed a system-wide parking operations program, which relates to this action. That program was developed for Metro North to open access to stations and standardize fees, create more uniformity, and improve the maintenance at our parking facilities. Over the last 12 years, we've moved from 8 lots that were under the program, and through transitions and negotiations and terminations, we've amassed about 34 facilities. With the upcoming expiration of the contract, the end of this March, we took that opportunity to move the program to the next level in terms of financial returns to Metro North and enhanced services. An RFP was issued through the MTA Real Estate Department, and an interagency selection committee was impaneled, and they identified Laz Parking as the most capable of providing a set of services that we've identified as critical to this. First, being increased revenues. We're looking for a return over the 7-year base of the contract of about $28 million. If both options are exercised, and there are 2 3-year options, that will be a return of $57 million. However, there's added cost avoidances and further investments that Laz is making under the negotiated terms that would provide a net benefit if both options were exercised of revenue and cost avoidance of over $66 million. The second goal was to maximize parking availability and support our station access initiatives. There's a whole range of programs that the Laz will be implementing, including more automated management of oversell and customer lists, their ability now to build small capital projects for us, add capacity and make improvements, assist us with park and ride operations, shuttle buses, and other services on that front. Thirdly, one of the goals was to achieve a more consistent performance of maintenance and operations. One of the largest elements that was put forth in the RFP to achieve this is the complete replacement and enhancement of the electronic daily meter parking system. The new meters that Laz will partially fund will include debit and credit services, more convenient for customers, which we don't have today. And lastly, one of the key goals was to include and enhance customer service significantly. We took a look at some of the staffing that the parking operator has and believes that by reuniforming them, providing more visibility to the public, they can assist customers in finding spaces and do things outside their normal class of duty, whether it's an enforcement agent or alike. We'll also have a new class of employee called a parking ambassador, and at key stations such as Poughkeepsie, those uniformed individuals will be in front of the station to assist in managing taxis and helping customers locate spaces and answer questions. So I think the message to customers overall is that Metro North views its parking facilities as the gateway to the railroad system, and that we want to assure a first-class customer experience from boarding station to destination station. I'd also like to thank several people who worked on this, Phil Patillo, Greg Sylvester, Rich Gans, and David Roth, who were instrumental in bringing this to today's fruition.
Any questions?
A, how many people answered the RFP, and B, who is Laz?
There were three firms that answered the RFP, the incumbent, All Right Central Parking, Standard Parking, and Laz. Laz has been an up-and-coming parking operator in the nation. One of the selection criteria was experience with other transit properties. They have assumed contracts at MBTA in Boston, are running the commuter operations there. That is a larger operation than us. They also are running the system in Washington, WMATA, the transit parking there. There are about 50,000 spaces in Washington. In the Metro North RFP, our system has about a little under 14,000 spaces under this RFP, although we have 39,000 in New York State. So Laz has done a lot in the region and in the transit industry, and has an interesting and a track record and a good customer orientation.
Are they located here or in Boston, or where?
Their headquarters is in Hartford, Connecticut.
Thank you.
Yeah, Randy, this $60 million that we're going to acquire, or benefits and money, is this all from parking revenues?
This is all from parking revenues. Some of it is cost avoidances, in other words, reimbursements that we are currently making to the current operator to haul snow or do some landscaping around stations that's out of the scope of the current parking contract. We buried that into the new RFP, and this firm will pick up those incremental expenses. And lastly, Laz will be making a capital investment of about $823,000 into meter systems and others. So those three pieces will add up to the net benefit.
What is the gross amount of revenues collected from all the parking? I'm just looking at what he's giving us as $60 million. I mean, he's got to have profit in there and cover his operating costs. How much money do we actually collect?
Well, we over the base term?
Well, the gross revenue they collect over the period of time that he's going to be, you could do it by a year or do it by the whole 13 years. It doesn't matter. I'm just wondering if he's in a position here to give us $60 million, how much money is he going to make out of this? That seems like a large number to me, and I just wanted to work on it.
Right. He'll probably make about $115 million over the 13 years, assuming no future fee increase.
That'll be the gross revenues.
That's what I'm looking for.
Gross revenues. We don't have access to the
No,
net.
the gross revenue, but then he gives us 60, and so he's got a substantial profit in there if he takes his operating.
He's got profit, but he's got his expenses as well. But that's their approach. The other thing is that we have a board-approved action for future fee increases, which we're not committing to, but that could add to the mix. We do participate if we proceed with future fee increases. We do receive that amount added to our rent, so we do enjoy increases to the rent under this that will go beyond those numbers for successive fee increases.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Randy? Can I get a motion? Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Okay.
Procurements.
Today, we have 11 procurements, which total about $10.5 million. Starting, we have 7 non-competitive procurements, which total about $6 million. Let me explain them to you with highlights. The first one is for the New York State Industries for the Disabled. This was for janitorial services for the new Yankee Stadium station. This is a New York State preferred source, so we're giving them, awarding them the contract. Kuplatech is a OEM. They make certain parts for New Haven Line Power System. Also Microforce, same thing for our coach toilets. The Jamaica Bearing is a joint procurement, as Jim mentioned. This is one of the joint procurements with the Long Island Railroad. And Graham White is another one, also with the Long Island Railroad. Then we have, as well, ARINC. You may recall there was some discussion on it last month. This is now a joint procurement with the Long Island Railroad for our SCADA system. And also, we're extending the Winston Services contract. This is a joint contract with us, Long Island Railroad, MTA Headquarters, and MTA Audit. And each one has a part of it. We'll be extending that for a month as well. So those are the non-competitives. On the competitives, one is for environmental services, one with two different firms, one primarily Connecticut, one primarily New York. They do remediation as well as when we have accidents, as well as work with us with environmental permitting. And then we have two ratifications, one with Mass Electric and one with Lucius Pitkin. So that's it for this month. I'd be happy to answer any questions on any of those.
Any questions on any of the procurements? Can I get a motion? Second? All in favor? Any against? Carried. Okay, our next meeting is Monday, February 23rd at 8:30 a.m. I'd like to remind you that we have two public hearings coming up, one in White Plains. I believe that is on this coming Wednesday. And we have one in Nyack on next Monday. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
And the Bronx next Wednesday also.
When is our next meeting?
The next meeting is February 23rd, 8:30 a.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Any contrary? Carried.